I discovered that my husband of several decades had been having an affair. The other woman was just 20 years old, much younger than me. When I confronted my husband, he coldly said, "Divorce me for her. You can have custody of the kids." My world shattered, leaving me speechless. To make matters worse, he had gotten his mistress pregnant. I told our daughters about the situation. Embracing their suggestion, I decided to take drastic measures. "Just you wait, I'll get you back soon," I vowed silently. My name is Natalie Johnson, 47 years old. I married John, who was the same age when I was 25. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. We have 3 daughters, the oldest in college, the second and third in high school. They're not fully independent yet, but they're at an age when they can manage things on their own. Now that the children were more independent, I was able to immerse myself in the work I love. I've been working for a major corporation since before I got married, and I earn more than my husband. Additionally, the house we live in was inherited from my parents, so we have no mortgage payments and live comfortably. With the kids growing up, we had more time as a couple. One night, while we were sharing a beer, my husband grinned and said, "Hey, Natalie, the kids don't need us as much anymore. How about we take a trip? Just the 2 of us, like old times." "Oh, really? When was the last time we went on a trip together? You're always helping out around here, and we both work hard, don't we? A little indulgence won't hurt." "Haha, that's true. The girls are old enough to handle things on their own. Should we leave the housework to them?" "Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll need to arrange some time off work. Where would you like to go?" "It might be nice to relax at a hot spring resort." "A hot spring resort sounds great." He began planning the trip with a delighted expression, and I couldn't help but smile at his boyish enthusiasm. Whenever I had a free moment during work or my commute, I found myself checking out travel websites. We gradually narrowed down our destination, and I'd already filled in our daughters about our plans. I was thrilled that he suggested the trip. Fast forward 1 month after our vacation discussions. I was waiting for my husband to get home so we could finalize our travel schedule. Usually, he's home by the time I return from work, but that day was different. When I got home, he was nowhere to be found, and our daughters couldn't provide any clues. His late returns were always preceded by a call, so his absence made me uneasy. If he didn't come by the next day, I decided I would call him. As I was considering my options, he finally arrived home just after 11 p.m. "Welcome home. I was worried since you were late," I said, rushing over to him, but his face was somber. "What happened? Is everything okay at work?" I asked, concern growing. He opened his mouth slowly. "Natalie, we need to talk." "Talk? About what? You look so serious." "I have been having an affair." "What?" I said, "I've been cheating on you with another woman." I was too shocked to speak properly. "Cheating? My husband?" In my confusion, I managed to stammer out a response. "What are you saying? An affair? You wouldn't." "But I have. It's been going on for a year." "A year? That's a joke, right? You showed no signs." "I tried my best to keep it from you. Meeting her after work when you were working late, telling you I was working on weekends when I went out." "No, that's a lie. You wouldn't." My husband grabbed both my shoulders, looking straight into my eyes. "I'm really sorry, but there's no turning back now." "What do you mean, no turning back? Stop kidding around. We've been together for 20 years, haven't we? Anyway, that's the situation. I want a divorce for her." "A divorce for her? What the heck is going on? We were just talking about going on a trip together, weren't we?" "I'm really sorry." I couldn't comprehend what he was saying. Has my husband been replaced by someone else? Tearfully, I confronted him and he began to explain the situation. According to his story, the woman he was cheating with was a junior at the same company, barely 20 years old and a temporary employee. She had started working there about a year ago, and he became her mentor. Their professional relationship evolved into after-work tutoring sessions and coffee breaks together. Eventually, they started going out for dinners and a romantic relationship developed. "She's so innocent, cute, and she depends on me." "You must be joking, and she's 27 years younger." He spoke of her charm, leaving me feeling inadequate. Then he dropped a bombshell. "Remember I mentioned wanting a divorce for her sake? Truth is, she's pregnant." "What? Pregnant?" "Yeah, so I think I should take responsibility and marry her. Thankfully, our girls are becoming more independent." "Hold on a minute. That doesn't matter, right? Those girls are our daughters, you know." Don't worry, I'll give you custody. What? As we're having this crucial conversation, my husband's eyes gleam with a calm smile. Does he really think that offering custody will make everything okay? I felt like he was mocking me, and the sadness I'd been feeling began to morph into anger. Before I knew it, I was shouting louder than I ever had before. Don't be ridiculous. This is too much. There's no point in saying that, right? The life that's about to be born means everything to me now. Then why did you suggest we go on a trip as a couple? I was really looking forward to that. I didn't know she was pregnant at the time. So if she hadn't gotten pregnant, you would have continued cheating on me in secret. Is that it? Well, anyway, I'm bringing her over tomorrow. Let's discuss everything then. He quickly changed the subject, handing me already filled out divorce papers before rushing to the bathroom. What on earth is happening? He drops the bombshell of an affair out of nowhere, then mentions she's pregnant. How much more can he humiliate me? I had prepared dinner for him, waited anxiously, and now I felt utterly foolish. Chaotic emotions swirled within me, but no matter how furious I became, the situation remained unchanged. I decided to confront my husband's affair head-on. The next day, as he had promised, he brought his mistress over. I instructed our daughters to stay in their rooms and had my husband and his mistress, who introduced herself as Lisa, sit on the couch. I am truly sorry for all of this, Lisa said, bowing her head as she sat down. Your apology doesn't change anything. My husband and I have 3 daughters, I replied firmly. I understand that, but for the sake of our child in my womb, could you please divorce John? Lisa requested calmly. What? Why should I destroy my family for your child's sake? I couldn't believe her audacity. Anger surged through me, and I raised my voice. This is absurd. Lisa looked shocked, covering her mouth with her hand. My husband turned to her with concern. Hey Lisa, are you okay? I'm sorry, John. I'm feeling a bit, must be morning sickness, Lisa said, her voice wavering. Right. What do you need? Should I show you to the bathroom? John asked, concern in his voice. Thank you. Could you show me the way? Of course, come this way, John replied, displaying a level of gentlemanliness I hadn't seen in him before. He helped Lisa to the bathroom, looking uncertain. When she returned, John said gently, Lisa, take it easy, okay? Our precious little baby is inside you. Yeah, sorry. Natalie's outburst caught me off guard, Lisa responded. I'm sorry too. If she had agreed to divorce right away, we wouldn't be in this mess. No, it's okay. This is a challenge we have to face together, Lisa said with a smile, and they held hands, creating a scene reminiscent of a movie. In that moment, my feelings toward my husband hardened abruptly. If only you had agreed to an honest divorce. What? You think this is my fault? You're the one who cheated on me in the first place. If that's how it is, I'll agree to the divorce or whatever, I said, deciding to end the futile discussion. Shortly after, I escorted my husband and his unfaithful partner out of the house and locked the door behind them. My daughters emerged from their rooms, clearly having overheard our conversation. Mom, is what we heard true? My eldest daughter asked, her voice filled with concern. I nodded silently, unable to conceal the truth any longer. I called them into the living room to discuss their father's affair. So we're getting a divorce. I want each of you to decide who you want to live with from now on. In unison, my daughters responded, well, obviously we're staying with Mom, right? But it's not fair if Dad doesn't face any consequences. Exactly. Let's teach him and his new friend a lesson. Immediately, my daughters proposed a plan. They're quite clever. Their suggestion surprised me, but I agreed and decided to play along. A few days later, I called my husband and told him I needed to discuss alimony. When he came over, I got straight to the point. I'll be seeking the fair alimony arrangement after the divorce. As for custody, you can have it. As I spoke, my husband rolled his eyes. Huh? Then our daughters appeared. His expression shifted to one of dismay as he saw them. Hey, wouldn't you rather stay with your mom? He asked tentatively. Huh? Why? We're obviously staying with you, Dad, they replied in unison. Who we choose is our business, and Dad has a more stable income, right? Wait, Natalie. I mean, your mom earns more in this household, their father interjected desperately. It's fine, Dad. As long as we get our usual allowance, we're good, right? As long as us 3 stick together, the daughters reassured him, brushing off his attempts to persuade them. Exactly. Actually, Dad, you should feel honored we're choosing you. Well, He seemed bewildered. but he had no choice but to accept his children's decision. He had always been a soft touch when it came to his daughters. My husband reluctantly agreed to take custody of the children. Since he was the reason for the divorce, I wouldn't be paying any child support. We settled on divorce proceedings that focus on receiving alimony from him and his mistress. The next day, we filed our divorce papers at City Hall. The alimony amounted to $30,000 from my husband and $15,000 from his mistress, paid in full at once. Our daughters stayed with me on weekends and lived with their father and his mistress during the week in a small apartment where she had previously resided. It was cramped living for 5 people, but that discomfort was part of the plan. Just wait and see. I was determined to ensure they regretted betraying me and our daughters. 2 months later, just when I thought the time might be right, my ex-husband and Lisa barged into my house. What's wrong with them? Dealing with those spoiled brats is impossible. I lost my temper as they stood there, faces red and breathing heavily, complaining in unison. I responded calmly, "Please don't be rude. All 3 of them are my pride and joy. They're good kids." "Don't give me that. What makes them good kids? All they do is complain about wanting expensive meals or not getting enough allowance every single day." "Exactly. And why are we responsible for their tuition and textbooks? No one told us about that." "Well, isn't that expected? After all, you 2 are their parents. Our home is too small. A family of 5 in a 1-bedroom apartment is unheard of." "Yes, that apartment was originally rented for just me. The neighbors on both sides keep complaining, and even the landlord is insisting that we move out." "Well, that's your own doing. And if the girls want Dad to have custody, there's nothing you can do about it." Both of them fell silent, their expressions bitter. After a long pause, John lowered his head and spoke softly. "Please take them." "Ha! What did you say?" "I said take them. We're expecting a baby. If we keep giving in to the girls' demands, we won't be able to properly raise our child." "Ha! Raising them is also part of being a parent, you know. Stop complaining. When did you become so heartless? You don't understand how others feel. You're the worst." His face flushed with anger as he shouted. I sighed heavily and responded sharply. "Don't understand others' feelings. You're calling me the worst? Are you talking about yourself? Who cheated, had a child with another woman, and asked me to divorce you for her? Who betrayed me first and did the worst thing? Do you remember that? That's all in the past. Don't bring it up again," he retorted, seemingly unaware of his own selfishness. Now, he was blaming me along with his mistress. I didn't hold back. "Enough is enough. It's in the past. Don't try to neatly close the book on your own. Do you have any idea how the girls and I felt? We were devastated when you betrayed us. Despite that, you continue to be selfish. But I already apologized for the affair, didn't I? Please just take them in," John pleaded. "Fine, I will. I pity the girls for having to stay with someone like you. But in exchange, you must pay child support. Understood? You have a responsibility as their father till they grow up and become independent adults. But on my salary alone, I can't possibly." "Enough. Don't play the victim now. You should have thought about that before you got your mistress pregnant. Now leave and never show your face to me again." His face went pale and he slumped where he stood. After hanging his head for a moment, he whispered to Lisa, "Let's go home." At that moment, Lisa, who had been silent until then, slapped his cheek hard. "Don't mess with me. I ended up in debt even after paying alimony, and now you're talking about child support. This is ridiculous." "What are you saying? What's going on, Lisa? What do you mean by lie? Weren't we planning to raise our child together?" "There is no child." Time froze as his mistress dropped the bombshell. He started questioning her in disbelief. No child? Was the pregnancy a lie? I thought you were wealthy, so I wanted to marry you." "What? What are you saying, Lisa? Is that true? The house you boasted about belonged to your wife all along, didn't it? I can't get a house, I'm paying alimony, and now I'm forced to take care of those stupid girls. I've had enough. There's nothing good about being married to you. Divorce me immediately." I can't believe this." My ex-husband clung to Lisa, tears in his eyes. "Get out of my way. Move. I'm leaving." She pushed him aside and stormed out of the house. My ex-husband, abandoned by his mistress, immediately fell to his knees and begged me, "Please forgive me. Give me another chance." No matter how many times he begged, I firmly turned him away. I promptly drove him out of the house and called our daughters back. From that moment, I officially regained custody of our daughters and demanded child support from my ex-husband. Supporting 3 children must have been a heavy burden for him, having depleted his savings with alimony payments. Moreover, their workplace witnessed the confrontation between him and Lisa, spreading the news about their relationship rapidly. Lisa's contract was terminated, and my ex-husband was demoted to a less significant department. His salary was reduced, and facing an even tougher financial situation, he seemed to struggle to make ends meet each month. Reportedly, he can't even afford proper meals now and appears to have become quite bitter. When I shared the story with our daughters, they high-fived each other with wide smiles. Their plan had worked brilliantly, and the 4 of us celebrated together. From this point forward, our life as a family of 4 women began. Despite the absence of their father, I am committed to taking full responsibility as a parent and raising my daughters to become outstanding adults. Pacific Airlines Flight 739 was poised for departure from San Francisco to New York. In the bustling terminal, passengers hurriedly made final adjustments before boarding. Among them was a 7-year-old girl with blonde hair and curious eyes, tightly gripping her father's hand. She wore a light blue dress, a serene contrast to the frenetic airport ambience. Her father, a stern figure, appeared distant, engrossed in his phone. Inside the aircraft, flight attendant Daniel meticulously prepared for takeoff. Tall and exuding a welcoming demeanor, Daniel was renowned for his ability to navigate any situation with poise and courtesy. He traversed the aisles, checking overhead compartments and ensuring passengers were settled. Approaching row 12, Daniel noticed the girl and her father settling into their seats. The girl's gaze met his, her wide eyes revealing a blend of curiosity and something deeper, perhaps a silent plea. Daniel smiled warmly before continuing his rounds, though a lingering sense of unease persisted. As the cabin hummed with chatter and subdued laughter, Daniel returned to the front to conduct safety instructions. His glance returned to the girl's father, now more engrossed in his phone than his daughter. The girl, however, appeared unsettled, her eyes darting around as if seeking an escape or answers. As the cabin doors sealed shut and the aircraft taxied down the runway, Daniel found himself unable to shake thoughts of her. Though he had encountered many children during his flights, there was something uniquely compelling and concerning about her demeanor. Once airborne and the plane stabilized, Daniel resolved to keep a vigilant watch over row 12. What had seemed like a routine journey was poised to unravel into something intricate and unforeseen. Unbeknownst to him, the flight attendant stood on the precipice of a journey that would irrevocably alter both his and the girls' lives. With the flight cruising smoothly, Daniel embarked on his first beverage service round, offering drinks and snacks to the passengers. Approaching row 12, he noted the girl's growing agitation. Her gaze was wide, scanning the cabin as if in search of something or someone. Meanwhile, her father remained absorbed in his phone, oblivious to his daughter's increasingly restless state. When Daniel offered beverages, the girl seized the moment to speak to him. Gently tugging on his uniform sleeve, she whispered urgently, "Sir, can I talk to you?" Daniel crouched down, meeting her eyes with a gentle smile. "Of course, what's on your mind?" he asked kindly. Glancing nervously at her father, the girl hesitated before confiding, "I'm scared. I don't want to be here," tears threatening to spill from her eyes. Before Daniel could respond, the father's cold gaze interrupted. He swiftly pulled his daughter back to her seat, admonishing her firmly, "Don't bother the flight attendant, Emily." Daniel nodded understandingly and withdrew, but concern weighed heavily on his mind. Continuing his duties, he kept a vigilant watch on row 12. Something was amiss, and he was determined to grasp the situation better. Returning discreetly to his station, he observed Emily closely. Soon Daniel noticed Emily engaged in secretive movements, using subtle gestures with her hands, hidden from her father's view. Attempting to discern her message, Daniel found himself unable to fully grasp the meaning. Intrigued and increasingly anxious, he resolved to seek assistance. During a brief respite, Daniel retreated to the galley and phoned Sarah, a fellow team member. "Sarah, I need your insight on something," he began urgently, outlining the situation. Sarah's brow furrowed in concern. She might be trying to communicate something crucial. "You've got to find out what it is without alarming her father." Armed with Sarah's advice, Daniel returned to the aisle. Emily appeared increasingly frantic, her signals more pronounced and urgent. Daniel understood he had to act swiftly yet discreetly. Time was of the essence to uncover what the girl needed to convey before it became too late. With a resolve to assist Emily, Daniel devised a subtle approach. Equipped with a notepad and pen, he pretended to take drink orders as he approached row 12 once more. Near the girl, he covertly penned a message. "Are you in danger?" Shielding the note from her father's view with his body, Daniel showed it to Emily. She glanced at the note, then at Daniel, nodding ever so slightly. A shiver ran down Daniel's spine. He needed more clarity. Continuing his rounds, he discreetly observed Emily from a distance. She resumed her hand signals, this time more distinctly. It took Daniel a moment to decipher, but he eventually pieced together the words she was spelling out in the air: help. Confirming his suspicions, Daniel knew swift action was essential. He returned to the galley, briefing Sarah and asking her to cover for him briefly. Sneaking away to a nearby restroom, he waited for an opportune moment when Emily could slip away unnoticed by her father. After a tense few minutes, Emily managed to slip out of her seat and rendezvous with Daniel in the restroom. In the confined space, she finally disclosed, "My dad, he did something bad. I don't want to go with him. I'm scared." Her voice trembled with fear and uncertainty. Daniel comforted her, his tone reassuring. "Emily, you're safe now. I need to understand more to help you." "What exactly did he do?" he inquired gently. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Emily revealed in a hushed tone, "He took me without my mom's permission. He said we were moving somewhere far away, and I'd never see her again. Please don't let him take me." Daniel's heart sank, realizing the gravity of the situation. He held Emily close, promising to protect her. Returning to the cabin, Daniel discreetly informed the pilot of the urgent circumstances. The pilot promptly contacted authorities at the destination, arranging for police to meet the flight upon landing. With the wheels in motion for Emily's safety, Daniel reassured her during the remainder of the flight, ensuring she felt secure until they landed. After Emily returned to her seat, Daniel maintained a vigilant watch as the flight progressed. The unfolding mystery heightened the tension on board with each passing minute. As the aircraft continued its journey, Daniel focused intently on row 12, steadfast in his determination to ensure Emily's safety until they reached their destination. Meanwhile, her father remained oblivious, immersed in his phone. Striving to maintain composure, Daniel busied himself by jotting notes in his pad. Swiftly outlining a plan for the flight crew, he emphasized the importance of discreetly monitoring row 12 and keeping a watchful eye on Emily without arousing her father's suspicion. The tension mounted with each passing moment. The flight felt interminable, and Daniel understood that any misstep could further endanger Emily. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him, but he was resolute in his determination not to falter. Midway through the flight, unexpected turbulence jolted the plane, causing passengers to grip their seats tightly. Emily looked to Daniel with wide, frightened eyes. He offered a reassuring smile, hoping to convey a sense of safety. Once the turbulence subsided, Daniel noticed Emily's father scrutinizing her more closely, sensing something amiss. Knowing he needed to act swiftly to avoid arousing suspicion, Daniel approached Sarah discreetly. "We need to maintain calm. Her father is becoming suspicious," he murmured. Sarah nodded, swiftly engaging nearby passengers to divert attention from any potential concerns. Returning to row 12, Daniel brought a cup of juice for Emily. "Here, this might help you feel better," he said softly, offering her the cup with a warm smile. Emily accepted it gratefully, offering a small smile in return. As Daniel moved away, a fleeting sense of relief washed over him, though he remained vigilant, knowing he must be prepared for any contingency. Approaching the cockpit once more, Daniel briefed the pilot on the urgency of preparing for a swift and discreet disembarkation upon landing. With the presence of law enforcement waiting, the ensuing hours were fraught with tension. Daniel and the crew orchestrated their actions seamlessly, camouflaging their intentions within routine tasks. Each passing minute seemed to stretch into eternity, yet the plan was underway. With each coordinated step, Daniel clung to the hope that they could resolve everything safely despite the looming threat. As the flight approached its final destination, Daniel observed Emily growing increasingly agitated. Though her father remained absorbed in his phone, occasional suspicious glances toward Emily betrayed his growing concern. Daniel understood they were running out of time and needed to proceed cautiously. He sought out Sarah, who was serving coffee at the rear of the plane. and spoke urgently. "Sarah, we need a plan to separate Emily from her father as soon as we land. We can't afford to wait for the police. We have to move swiftly." Sarah paused for a moment, considering her options. "We can use the disembarkation process as a distraction," she proposed. "I'll announce a technical issue that requires everyone to exit quickly. It should create enough confusion to separate Emily from her father." Daniel nodded in agreement, recognizing the strategy's potential effectiveness. He returned to monitoring row 12, ready to act. As the plane commenced its descent, Daniel discreetly prepared for their next move. Leaning closer to Emily, he whispered, "Emily, when we land, we need to move swiftly. Trust me, I'll keep you safe." Emily nodded, her face a mix of apprehension and tentative trust. Daniel returned to his post, nervously anticipating the landing. When the aircraft touched down, Daniel felt a surge of relief and adrenaline. The plan was underway. Sarah's announcement prompted passengers to hustle toward the exits with heightened urgency. Emily's father stood, clutching her hand tightly. Moving swiftly, Daniel approached them and calmly intervened. "Sir, let me assist your daughter with disembarking. It'll be quicker and safer for everyone." The father hesitated briefly, but amidst the commotion, he reluctantly acquiesced. Daniel grasped Emily's hand firmly and guided her towards the front of the plane, his pulse racing with urgency. Every moment was critical. As they disembarked, a discreet group of undercover police officers, masquerading as airport personnel, stood ready. Daniel entrusted Emily into the care of one of the officers before turning back to confront her father, who was beginning to comprehend the unfolding situation. "What's going on?" the father demanded, suspicion etched in his voice. Daniel remained composed, replying firmly, "We're ensuring everyone's safety, sir. Please come with me." With swift coordination, the police moved in to apprehend Emily's father, detailing the circumstances while Daniel escorted the girl away. Emily glanced back at Daniel, still apprehensive but visibly relieved to be away from her father's grasp. Watching her being escorted to safety, Daniel felt a rush of relief flood over him. The most challenging part was behind them, yet there remained much to resolve. The revelations surrounding Emily's father and his actions had altered everything. Now, Daniel was committed to ensuring Emily's continued safety and seeing justice served. The organized chaos of disembarkation began to dissipate as passengers were directed towards the terminal. Daniel watched intently as undercover police officers escorted Emily's father to a secure area. Suddenly, the father realized what was happening and tried to break free, shouting angrily, "You can't do this. She's my daughter." Emily, hearing her father's voice, cowered behind Daniel, who stood protectively in front of her. "Please stay calm, sir. The authorities will explain everything," Daniel said, attempting to defuse the situation. But the father was uncooperative. He struggled and managed to break free from one of the officers, advancing towards Emily with a furious expression. The surrounding passengers began to step back, frightened. Without hesitation, Daniel placed himself between the father and Emily. "Stop. Don't make this worse," he said firmly and authoritatively. The father hesitated for a moment, but his rage seemed uncontrollable. He tried to push Daniel aside, but before he could advance, the police tackled him to the ground, quickly handcuffing him. "This is a mistake," he yelled. "She's my daughter." As the father was taken away, Daniel knelt beside Emily, who was crying silently. "You're safe now. Everything will be okay," he said gently and reassuringly. Emily looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude and fear. Daniel hugged her, offering the comfort she desperately needed. He knew she was about to face a whirlwind of emotions and that her life was about to change forever. Moments later, a police officer returned to talk to Daniel. "Thank you for your help. We'll take care of Emily and ensure her safety. You might need to give a statement about what happened during the flight," the officer said. Daniel nodded. "Of course. I'll do whatever is necessary," Daniel said as the police led Emily to a safe area. He felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. The situation had been intense and dangerous, but he knew he had done the right thing. Watching Emily disappear with the police, he realized there was still more to be done to ensure her safety and justice. The confrontation had been the most intense moment of his career, but also the most rewarding. Just as he was about to leave the security area, one of the officers called him. "Sir, can you please come with us? We need a bit more information," the officer said politely but firmly. Daniel agreed and was taken into a room where Emily was sitting with a social worker. The girl looked more relaxed but still showed signs of fatigue and fear. The social worker motioned for Daniel to sit down. Emily has told us part of what happened, but we'd like to hear your version as well, the social worker said. Daniel nodded and began to recount the events of the flight from the moment he noticed Emily's strange behavior to the confrontation with her father. He explained how the girl signaled for help and how he and the crew devised a plan to ensure her safety. As he spoke, Emily held the social worker's hand for comfort. The officer took detailed notes, and the social worker occasionally interrupted with more specific questions. Did you notice any other suspicious or dangerous behavior from the father during the flight? The social worker asked. Daniel thought for a moment. He seemed completely disinterested in his daughter, focused only on his phone. But the look he gave her when he realized we were interacting, it was scary. He seemed more irritated than concerned. The officer finished his notes and thanked Daniel for his cooperation. As he stood to leave, Emily called to him in a soft voice. Daniel, thank you, she said, her eyes filled with gratitude. Daniel smiled at her, feeling a wave of emotion. You were very brave, Emily. Everything will be okay now. As he left the room, Daniel felt the weight of the situation begin to lift. But just as he thought everything was under control, an alarm blared through the terminal. A commotion erupted with people running and shouting. What's happening? He asked one of the guards. There was an escape attempt. Emily's father tried to escape custody, the guard replied, clearly agitated. Daniel's heart raced. He ran back to the room where Emily was. He saw the girl was safe with the social worker and 2 officers, but her father was nowhere in sight. We need to reinforce security here. He can't get near her again, Daniel said, trying to stay calm. The terminal was in chaos, but the police quickly organized a search. After tense moments and a frantic hunt, they finally located Emily's father hiding in a restricted area. He was restrained again, this time with reinforced security. With Emily's father finally detained and taken away, Daniel felt a wave of relief. He returned to the room where Emily was now accompanied by a group of professionals, including social workers and child psychologists. Emily, you're safe now, said one of the social workers with a warm smile. We'll take care of you and make sure everything is all right. Emily looked at Daniel, still holding his hand. There was a silent connection between them, a mutual understanding of what they had gone through together. Daniel, thank you for everything, she said, her voice soft but full of sincerity. Daniel smiled, crouching down to her level. You were very brave, Emily. Always remember that. As Emily was led away, Daniel felt satisfaction but also exhaustion. He knew he had done everything in his power to protect that girl. As he watched the team take Emily, one of the officers approached him. You did a great job today, Daniel. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't noticed the signs, said the officer. Just did what anyone would do, Daniel replied modestly. Later in the terminal, Daniel saw a woman approaching quickly, her eyes filled with worry and tears. It was Emily's mother. When she saw her daughter, she ran to hug her, holding her tightly. Emily, my God, are you okay? She said, her voice choked with emotion. Emily clung to her mother, crying but this time with tears of relief and joy. I'm okay, Mom. Daniel helped me. The mother looked at Daniel with infinite gratitude. Thank you. You saved my daughter, she said emotionally. Daniel nodded, feeling touched by the moment. She's a very special girl. I'm glad I could help. As the mother and daughter reunited, Daniel felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He knew Emily was in good hands and that the situation, despite how difficult it had been, was finally resolved. Walking towards the terminal exit, he felt the day's weight begin to dissipate. The night sky was clear, and he took a deep breath, reflecting on the events that had unfolded. Despite the challenges and dangers, the courage and determination of a little girl, combined with the quick actions of a flight attendant, had changed the course of her life. As he left the airport, Daniel knew that this experience would stay with him forever, a reminder that even in the most difficult moments, it's possible to make a difference and bring safety and hope to those who need it most.